Okay, it's 7:04. The Architectural Preservation District Commission meeting has a quorum, and we will start the meeting now. But first I have to read the draft script for remotely conducted open meetings.
That's a month, yeah.
As a preliminary matter, this is Richard McGrath, Chair of the Architectural Preservation District Commission. I will do a roll call to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brian Cochran,
Right.
I hear you, Richard. Brian Corcoran.
Colin Dwyer,
Here, thank you.
Richard uses these deductions that you.
Anthony's here. We'll get him in.
In the cast, he's deducted part of the.
Hello, Anthony.
This is the Wi-Fi, this is the internet, this is everything.
There he is.
Anthony. Oh, gotta get his earphones on. Anthony.
Yes, can you hear me?
Anthony Nicastro, we can hear you.
All right, good.
Anthony Nicastro is present, I'll vouch. Good evening. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel, and the meeting of the APDC is being conducted remotely. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities are only open by appointment only at this time. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting laws, GLC 3820, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town website on the COVID-19 Information Center page, access through the town manager's webpage, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the APDC is convening by Zoom video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Laura, can you put that on mute, please? May be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct in our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Richard McGrath, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait for till the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify the names and addresses only. Only the chair has a list of public commentators. I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in the meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. That's it. First item on the agenda is the reading of the minutes.
Okay, Richard, it's Brian Corcoran. I took minutes last week and documented them. I'll read those out now. The APDC meeting minutes for February 24th, 2021. Members in attendance were Richard McGrath, Colin Dwyer, Tony Nicastro, Brian Corcoran. Meeting was called to order at 7:03 p.m. Richard outlined the meeting being held on Zoom and then gave the ground rules for the meeting. And then new business. Richard brought up that the town hall and Ritter building may be getting extensive repairs such as roof, gutters, chimney work. Brian was asked to draft a letter to the town manager's office and copy the building inspector, reminding them that repairs to the contributing properties, private or public, in the APD require a CTA. Richard also discussed what other communities are doing with the reuse of old town buildings, especially schools, and mentioned he would gather additional information for the next meeting. Brian brought up the Lunenburg Ledger article regarding the TC Pachios building being far over budget. Brian reiterated the idea that Katie Adams had of making the town campus using the Ritter building and the old primary school. Cullen agreed to try and contact Katie Adams to discuss this matter. The next grants were discussed for refurbish of old town buildings, and Tony stated he did research but needs to do more to come on the next meeting. The Brooks House was also discussed. Richard mentioned that the Historic Commission is doing an article on the Brooks House. Cullen will go through our previous minutes to see if there were more specific details regarding the Brooks House. I think we had that meeting with the town. That's what that was in regard to. Richard also discussed the APD signs that are missing or in the wrong location. He sent a note to the DPW and is awaiting a return response. Another request was made to Brian to draft a letter to the select board town manager requesting the RFP on the request to purchase the old primary school. In this letter, a request will be made to ask for the APD budget and the process for use. Discussion around annual endangered historic properties in the APD, for instance, the primary school, the Brooks House, and the town pond, additionally might be a good highlight to properties that have had positive comeback as well. Plan to discuss the topic more during the March meeting. CTA for 116 Lancaster Ave to add solar panels to the roof was discussed and approved. More discussion around addition of solar panels is needed. Next APDC meeting, March 24th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And this meeting adjourned at 8 p.m.
Any discussion on the minutes? I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
You want to second that, Colin? Colin?
I'll second that motion, and I vote to approve the minutes as read.
All in
Okay.
favor? Richard McGrath says aye.
Colin Dwyer says
Brian
aye.
Corcoran? Brian Corcoran says aye.
It's unanimous. Minutes are accepted as presented.
Very good.
No public for comment. New business. When I was in working in Cambridge the other day on the house I went in to look at, some work on had, they have a plaque from the Cambridge Historical Commission that denotes the house as receiving a preservation reward for the restoration work they did on the outside of the house. I thought that might be a thing that we could do going into the future.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It could be, like Gary Burton's house. That house was restored and saved, and we could even go to past houses like the Jones house or the Susan Brown house.
Sure.
And give them an award and then have an article in the Ledger or in the Sentinel about it.
Sure.
Any thoughts?
No, I think it sounds good. I think anything you can do to kind of promote that, I think is good.
Yeah, increase public awareness of the historic assets in the town history is will help in preserving it in the future. People will see that it has value.
I know this is Cullen Dwyer, serving on the Historic Commission, that we sent out letters, or at least one letter, to people who had gone above and beyond to fix up and restore properties. We sent a letter of recognition. It wasn't really a public letter, though. It was more of just like a personal nod to the person, to the property owner, for what
Yeah,
they.
yeah. Yeah, I think making it more public, and there have been quite a few houses that have been fixed up, restored in the past, or well maintained, that deserve recognition.
Agree.
And could probably collaborate with the Historical Commission in their historically speaking articles. They could probably do an article on the house that receives the award too, so it gets recognition and people know what the house is about and its history.
Yep.
Old business, secretary report on correspondence.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Richard.
And could you read the draft letters to
Sure.
request for budget and on the
Sure. So this first letter, it's dated March 22nd, Town of Lunenburg, to Heather Lemieux, Town Manager. Dear Miss Lemieux, when the old primary school was up for sale, the APDC was unaware. Could you please forward a copy of the RFP to the APDC for our records? Also, could you inform us of the possibility of an operating budget and tell us of the budget rules and use? Just plain and simple.
What do you think, Colin?
Is that been sent, or is that about
No,
to?
that's a draft
It's a
for our
draft.
consideration. So if you want to make any changes or add things to it, feel free.
I do think it's awfully brief. I think we should, if we're going to talk about a budget, I think it would be good to state a figure and explain what we think that we need that budget for and how we would hope to spend it.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's a good idea.
Okay, so like we mentioned it last time, I think a little bit about like maybe flyers and pamphlets, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Signage. So, okay,
As
I
well
could add that
as
in.
historical markers, like a bronze marker recognizing the town pound and telling about its history. You could have a bronze marker at Luther Burbank's house recognizing that he lived there and a little bit about his history. And
Yep. Okay, I can do that, and I'll send it out, and we can go through it next time if you want, or if you want, I can just add that bit of information and then send it out.
Why don't you just, I beg your pardon, this is Cullen Dwyer. Why don't you just add that a bit of information, send it out. Let's move this along. But I think we should have some sort of consensus on what kind of a figure we were talking about.
What do you think?
I have no clue.
Well, at the historical commission, we had 3,000
Yeah.
pretty consistently, and that seemed adequate for minor things. But there's so at the historical commission, they're talking about completing the town survey and hiring a consultant to help with that, which would cost, we could use whatever we got for sure. There's definitely things to use it for.
Right. I guess that would be a good question, is like, would the funds be eligible for something like contributing to the historic commission's completion of the survey, or
Yeah,
bring up some examples like that. But I certainly think we should include the things that we've already spoken about, things like, office supplies, mailings, copies, things like that, which I don't think we'd need 3,000 for that. But for signs or markers or things like that, that might be more expensive.
yes, yeah. I thought of a lot of towns have pamphlets with walking tours of the town for the historic sites.
Yep.
There's one in Fitchburg for H.S. Francis. Is that his name, Brian? H.S.
S.H. Francis, right?
S.H. Francis, yes. They have one in Fitchburg, and then they have plaques on all the buildings that he designed in Fitchburg. So you can get the pamphlet, and then you can walk all over town to the different architectural accomplishments of the gentleman.
Right. So this is Brian Corcoran. Do we want to state that we're looking for a budget of 3,000 annually? Or do you want to leave it up to them, or do we say in the range of 3,000?
I would say 3,000. What do you think?
I concur. I think we should state a figure, and
Yeah.
Okay.
all I can say is no.
Right, there's a precedent with the historical commission.
Yes.
The work we have is more concentrated and probably more intense and than what the historical commission has to do.
Okay, I'll add that in then.
Okay,
Very good.
Anthony, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We read the minute. We read the minutes and approved them as they were presented. And then we were just talking about Brian Cochran had made a couple of draft letters, one to the town manager requesting a budget for the commission. Did you have any comments on that?
No, no, nothing to add to that.
Yeah, so that first one was to request the, the RFP that they sent out for the school, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the operating budget. So that'll be together. And I'll just add the information that we just discussed about some details about what it is we would like to use the budget for, and then what kind of a budget we're looking to acquire annually. So I'll add that in, send it out.
Yep, send it out.
Yeah, would you like me to go through the second letter?
Yes, please.
Okay. Second letter, also dated March 22nd, 2021. Town of Lunenburg, Heather Lemieux, Town Manager. Ms. Lemieux, the APDC has become aware through the reporting in the Ledger that there will be upcoming work on the Ritter and Town Hall. The APDC guidelines state that altering any contributing properties must go through the APDC certificate to alter process and review. Contributing properties in the APDC include private and public buildings. And that's it.
Great.
Straightforward.
Any comments?
Nope. That kind of says it all right there.
All right,
Yeah. And I'm copying the building inspector on this as well, so he's
Yeah.
aware of it.
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Send that out.
Okay, so I'll amend the other one and this one I'll send out. And we'll get them both out there. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, primary school. Any updates from the members?
So I was a little late on the draw. I finally figured out this whole grant thing, this money thing. So unfortunately, we missed the cutoff for this year. They had to be in on a certain date. And so I started filling out the application, and then I realized it's probably got to go to the town manager to have her put their input on, because the money's going to the town.
Yes,
So I'm gonna try again next year. Now I know the process, how it's done, and see, the awards go out. I think the awards go, the cutoff date was the 19th, and the awards go out sometime in June. So unfortunately, I missed it because they had to be postmarked by the 19th, and it was a very confusing process. But now I know how it works, so I think I'm going to be quick on the gun next year in January.
could you name the specific grants, please?
They didn't say. All from what I read on what the historical commission, you fill out the application, right? And then you send it in, and then it goes to this commission, and then they pull out the money. But I think the whole process is you got to get the application in. I'm still kind of feeling it out, but I
Yeah.
feel if once I get the application in and get it going, get our name out there,
Yeah.
then I can start to be a little pushy and ask questions. You know?
That's the, that's Mass Historical Commission grants.
Yes, Mass Historical Commission grants, and they go anywhere from, I think it said from 3,000 to up to like 7,000 or 8,000. But at this point, I'll take anything. I'll take anything they give me,
Mm.
right? That way, there we can try and say, hey, listen, we're trying, and you're not. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Colin Dwyer, I have a question for Mr. DeCastro.
Yes.
Do you need to have some sort of a plan or a proposal for how you're going to use the funds on the application?
Yeah, because there's a plan proposal. They ask for pictures, right? And then there's this whole process. If you don't own the property, it's a public property. Then it has to go to somebody. I guess it would go to Heather, and she's got to do her thing and fill in her block. But yeah, so in the proposal, it asks, they want pictures, a plan, and what we trying to do. All I put in is I'm just trying to save the school as it's a historical building in the town of Lunenburg. So I'm just trying to save the school from being demolished, and the town is open to anything that's kind of worthy, kind of what what's the word I want to use? It's kind of a good use for the school. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So I worded it sort of like that. And my thing, I have the application saved. I was doing it at work. I was goofing off at work. So yeah, I just got to be quicker on the draw next year. You know what I mean?
Richard McGrath, when does it come out again?
I think it begins again in the January, the next year.
Okay, good.
So yeah, even if there's another, like the old pound, even if there's another historical thing here, this way, I mean, at least as the APDC, we're trying, right? We're trying to show the town that, you know, we're not just here. We're not just here. We're trying to help. So
Yes, Yeah.
whatever I can get money for, and if I can't get it for the school, but I can get it for the old pound or anything else. Like I said, when the time comes, application time at the meeting, we'll hash it out and find out what's a worthy project to get funding for. Hopefully I can get something.
Excellent.
Tony, this is Brian Corcoran. I get a quick question. Is it only one item or one building or historic?
Oh,
Uh,
I guess we could submit as many applications as we want.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Minutes.
I don't think there's I don't think it's, from what I read and what I kind of figured out on the website, I don't think there's a one and done type thing. I think if we have enough worthy projects, I'm all for submitting applications for everything. The more we get
Okay.
out there, the more of a chance we get to get some money, right? Whatever it
Right.
is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I guess another question is, and we don't have to do it right away, but maybe we could start pecking at, hey, what's a good write-up and things like that over the course. That way, come January timeframe, we're locked and loaded and ready to submit, and we feel real good about it.
well, what I can do is I can download, what I'll do is download a blank application. I'll email it to you guys, but it's this year's application. So if we start to fill the data out, right? Then we
Yep.
already have the data for next year. All you do is copy and paste. So
Right,
what I'll do
exactly.
is I'll download a form and then we can start to peck away at it.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
A new thing for spots, yeah, no, don't worry about it. Yeah, but we can talk.
Any other comments?
It's just a really good. thing.
Cullen Dwyer, yeah, I have a couple developments on the old primary.
It's not that, I don't know.
I also contacted Mass Historic regarding listing the old primary school on the National Register of Historic Places. And my understanding, or from the website, it sure looks like there are certain funds that are only available for listed properties. So it could be important for its restoration. And also apparently there are some tax incentives for any restoration work, whether you get a grant or not. There are tax incentives for listed properties for any restoration work done on listed properties. So I contacted them and they did get back to me this time, and they said that they recognize the Lunenburg Historic District as part of, as on the National Register, but that the old primary school was not part of the inventory listed for the district. And they said that it would be eligible because it was constructed more than 75 years before the district was founded. So it made that requirement.
Oh, good.
Apparently the old primary school was constructed in 1929, which is later than I thought, but anyway, it qualifies, and so they requested that we fill out a Form B, which I told them I was happy to do, and that I would do in cooperation with the Historical Society, or the
Great.
Historical Commission, rather. That's what I meant to say.
That's great.
Yes. So that is moving along. In other news, I did contact select person Katie Adams to discuss the idea of reusing the building as town hall or as part of a town campus. And something that came out of that discussion was that when we recommended that the town sell the building to a private interest to be reused and put back on the tax rolls, she interpreted our intention as something along the lines of just handing over the property to private developers to do whatever they wanted with with downtown Lunenburg, which I was pretty surprised that she got that impression from us. I really didn't think that we kind of broadcast that intention whatsoever. but I think there is this sort of reaction when we say things like that, that, you know, that this is going to be another Emerald Place kind of development, and that they need to hold on to it. Because it did seem from our conversation, it seemed like our interests were very much aligned. She did care about the buildings, not as much as the land, but she was concerned with historic preservation. And I feel like she took a rather antagonistic point of view simply because she felt like we were prepared to hand over the town properties to private developers. So I think people have people are quick to jump to conclusions, and we need to be very careful about what we say and the recommendations that we make, and to make sure that we preface them with all the remarks about how that process should go and the protections that would remain in place for these properties.
Richard McGrath, yeah, somehow there was a severe miscommunication there, because that was all talked about at the workshop, the first workshop, and it was made clear we defaulted to giving it to a developer because the communication we were getting was that they wanted to tear it down.
Right.
So somehow it got all mixed up.
Whereas select person Adams' point of view was more along the lines of she wanted to tear it down because she felt like that was the only way that she was going to save the property and keep it in the
Wow.
town's
Amazing.
hands. So yeah, a lot of miscommunication, I think, or a lot of misinterpretation and kind of reactive thinking. But I do think that there's more common ground between us than would appear from the comments that have been made during these workshops.
Mhm.
That's good.
So what happens next there?
Well, I mean, at this point, I think you know, we're having there is some conversation about just ideas. I don't know what the next step is, but I think we do need to come up with ideas and proposals that we think that would be mutually agreeable.
Colin, this is Brian Corcoran. Did you ask her about the town campus that she kind of had brought up during the meeting?
Yes,
Do you have anything to say? Okay,
yes,
sorry,
I addressed that topic specifically, and she thought it was a viable idea. So it wasn't part of her vision exactly, because you know her vision is to create a series of parks and public parking in that area. But she did express an interest in the town campus. She didn't really elaborate exactly how that would how it would all come together and how it would look, any more than she did at our workshop, I think.
Okay.
But she certainly felt like it would be a better option than refurbishing TC Paseos, or tearing down and building a new property, or building an additional building on the TC Paseos parcel for town hall, which have apparently all been discussed. Apparently there's money requested for engineering work on new construction at TC Paseos for a town hall.
So
Yeah, this is Brian Corcoran. I saw that on the ledger the other day. They were talking, it sounds like they're leaning more towards a tear down and rebuild. I guess is more of a known number than trying to take and reconstruct. I guess that it could get out of hand quickly. That sounded like they were saying in the paper.
because if they, you know, and it's thinking, because he
In the article in the paper, it said the TC Paseos project, if eventually passed, would leave behind vacant buildings, including the existing town hall and Ritter Memorial buildings. Jeffrey and Roy said the Paseos committee knew it was outside the purview of its charge, but wanted to bring it to the board's attention if town meeting voters asked the questions about the other buildings. The Passios Committee offered to provide assistance, but as TC Passios committee member Dave Passio said, had no intention of becoming a town-wide reuse committee. Collectively, the select board decided that if it didn't want the Passios committee becoming involved in projects outside the Passios property, but decided to post an agenda item for another meeting to discuss the approach with the vacant buildings. After hearing the warrant articles, Dwyer and select board member James Marino were in favor of the measures while Adams opposed one of the two. Adams didn't want the town locked into the TC Passios property if it decided to build new, opting to use the space for a potential building to replace Turkey Hill, and wanting a town hall built where the old primary school is. Jeffrey said that Adams brought up a good point, but deliberations on the location of a new building could come after the fact. So conceivably in that statement, there could be a new building that also incorporates the old building. But they're talking about,
Stephanie worked and I worked. You ever remember April? He never worked in a
so
restaurant.
Colin, on the, you're gonna do Form B for that school?
Yes.
You can get the form and the instruction from it on the Mass Historical Commission website.
I believe I have the form right here.
Excellent.
Yep.
'Cause he's the one
A-
who's-
a- and
Brian
that-
Corcoran, Richard and Colin and Tony, do you think by having that on the National Historic Register that it, may make it more difficult for them to just take it down?
Well, it gives it more importance, but it also, if they're going forward, if they go forward with
Sure, she said- she
rest-
said that she had allergies.
restoring
She
it
kept saying,
or
"I'm not
making it part of a new building, that they
She
can,
kept
they'll be
saying-
able to
she
get
kept saying, "I'm not
funding
sick, I'm not sick," but she wasn't wearing
for
a
it.
mask.
Okay, yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, because on the application,
Not sick.
there's a block asks if it's on the National Historic Register. So on the grant application, so I mean, checking that block might be very favorable for us to get some
Sure.
free money.
Yeah, definitely. There's grants available for municipal buildings. They're usually 50-50.
Oh, that's good.
Any other discussion on the primary school?
No, that was good. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Colin.
Also, the they're talking about tearing down the Passios at some point for some reason or another. That's a modern building, so it doesn't come under our jurisdiction for delay or approval. But we do have the bylaw states that the APDC has an advisory position in any new construction in the district.
Right.
If the recording secretary could send a letter to the chairman of the TC Passios Building Design Committee, letting him know that fact. He may not be aware of it.
So
His name's.
So who was that, the chair of,
the
I'm sorry,
chairman-
Richard, it's Brian Corcoran. What's that? The chairman of what?
It's the TC Passios Building Design Committee.
Okay,
Chairman is Greg Roy. There should be an address on the website, I would think.
okay.
Colin Dwyer, can you tell us more about this committee? Is it an departmental committee, or who formed this committee?
TC, it was formed to decide on the renovations and come up with pricing for the TC Passios to make it into, decide what they were going to put in their offices, storage, who else was going to be in the building, community space. uh,
You can't make that
Dave
up.
Passios is on
You
it.
can't make that shit up.
Planning Board Representative Matthew Allison is on it. Selectman Jeffries is on it.
I mean, fun is what you make it.
I don't know who else. I haven't been following it too much. but-
I see. Thank you.
Send your husband home alone? And you didn't want
Any
to-
other discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Brooks House. I
I
think I was supposed to contact the planning board on that to find out status, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
The Historical Commission had an article written by Bill Laxo in the Ledger on the Brooks House and its history. It was done very nicely. I think it brings attention to that house.
And where was the article written?
It was
Richard,
in,
this is Brian Corcoran.
it was in the Lunenburg Ledger and the Fitchburg Sentinel.
Okay,
He's made contact with the Fitchburg Sentinel, so the articles are being published there also.
You're gonna let her whine and interfere with your fun? I'm like, you never missed anything when you were at girls' days at school or something.
Any other business?
You're here to have fun. Let's have fun.
Cullen Dwyer, just before this meeting started, I got an email saying
Fun's an hour.
Elaine Peterson notified us, and I expect the rest of you, that there was a
So you-
warrant article proposed to provide appeal procedures for any ruling by the APDC. Basically, that any decision made by the APDC could be appealed before the town at town meeting.
Hmm.
The justification was that the only current appeal process is through the general laws of Massachusetts, which could cause the town to effectively, well, it could cause the town to actually sue itself in an appeal process. So clearly, this was drafted in anticipation of of our denying an application to the town.
yeah, I read the same thing.
You would take your
Yeah.
month.
Yep.
I said you would take your month and do
Uh,
it.
Let's have discussion
So-
on this.
Yeah, I got
You know what?
a comment. So
No.
what behooves a private resident from maybe wanting to do the same thing if the APDC didn't agree with them, that they could bring something up and see if the town wanted to vote that it was okay to, not follow the rule, let's say.
Mhm.
What kind of a precedence does that set? I know this is the town stating this, but, why would it be different for someone in the private, private owner?
I don't think
Hmm.
that.
They could. I mean, it reminds me of a couple of years ago, there was a vote at town meeting for a private individual who was denied an application to connect to the sewer because that was part of the plan, that they were near Whalum Lake and there was a town plan sewer laid out basically to control development. And this private resident said, well, I have 4 acres. It's on a hillside and I want to build more properties and sell them. I want to develop this. Why shouldn't I? And so he took it to town meeting, and indeed, like there was enough people. It was, of course, at the end of the night. A lot of people had already gone home, and his supporters stayed and voted for it, and so he got what he wanted. He got his variance to the law.
There you go.
So I think that's a precedent right there. That yeah, people can bring kind of anything to town meeting. They can submit a warrant article, and if it's accepted, they can put it before the town, and anything could happen.
So it basically takes the power away from the APDC and puts it puts a lot of it into that appeal process. And that could go right through when the town starts developing the village district. Anything that is historic, we could say, well, we don't want, the rules say that the front yard of this house, you can't open up the front of this 1760 house and put in big bay windows and put golden arches in the front yard because the populace want to have a McDonald's in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
I think it defeats does that make sense? I don't, we need
Yeah, I
to,
mean, I agree. I mean, I think the process that they've proposed, it went through the city council, and it seems, in a way, it's from a legal procedural point of view, I think it makes sense. Though I agree with you, Richard, that it does kind of undermine the authority and the whole purpose of having a preservation commission. That if you have systems in place for not accepting our decision and just finding a way around it, it definitely undermines our position and our purpose.
and we're just following the bylaw and the guidelines which were accepted by the selectmen. We're not doing anything other than that. The bylaw was put together by the planning board meticulously through hearing. There was public hearings. There was a long process, and meetings with the selectmen who approved it. So to undermine that, I don't know that that's, we need to come up with talking points for this, for the town meeting.
Yeah, this is Brian Corcoran too. I think that, it's not just the homes that are in the district. I think it's most important are the town buildings, especially the historic town buildings. It'll probably set more of a precedence in the center of town. And to me, this is really going right at the heart of that.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, this is one building now. What happens when they have nothing to do with the Brooks House, or they have nothing they can do with the Ritter building, or the old town hall if they build another one. Now all these buildings are gone, right? You just have a town vote depending, who shows up. I don't know. I don't like it personally.
I think our response should be to say that that town, the general town assembly is not the proper process for this. I think there should be an appeal process. Should our commission not fulfill the mission laid out in the bylaw, or if we don't follow our own guidelines, which is certainly possible that there could be a commission that was like negligent or erroneous in its decisions for whatever reason. And so I think there should be some sort of a process where somebody could appeal it and say that, hey, the APDC is not following its own rules. It's not following the bylaw. It's not following its guidelines. And for that reason, we think that this decision should be, is worthy of appeal. And so I think we should kind of take that stance, just because, anything could happen at, it's just a popular vote at town meeting, right? So
Right.
It's not any very well thought out process. Often it's people who don't really know much about the issue and they just want to go home. All they know about it is, 2 paragraphs that they read in the warrant article or something like that. And so I think if somebody wants to appeal, it deserves the same sort of consideration and process that we've gone through to instate these laws.
So any appeals process added to the APDC guidelines. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I think that's, what I'm suggesting is that we take a position on the warrant article and that we should come up with an alternate procedure besides town meeting. And one where there's a decision made whether or not we acted according to the bylaw and our guidelines. And that if there is an appeal, it should be based on that, whether or not we abided by the law and our guidelines,
Mm-mm.
which have been approved by the selectmen and the planning board and the town.
Mr. Dwyer, would you be willing to draft an appeals process with the reasoning and the argument for?
I will do my best.
Or even scratch something down, Colin. This is Brian Corcoran, and we can discuss it more next meeting, because this is all still kind of new. I think we probably want to, chew on it a little bit as well, right?
I agree.
Mm. I appreciate the town manager's office making us aware of that warrant. I would have been surprised to go to town meeting and it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Any other business, discussion, comments?
No, I think I'm good.
Anthony?
No, very, very productive meeting tonight, though, I'll have to say. Very productive.
I have one item. I had stopped over to the house at the corner of Whiting and Lancaster. And I found Leandro is still living there.
Okay.
And doing well. She had I mentioned the roof shingles that were missing on the front of the house. So the roof was obviously leaking, and offered my services to repair that for her. And she accepted. So sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'll get over there with a ladder and a helper and tack those shingles back on.
Well done, Richard. Let us know if you need any help with anything.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Next meeting Wednesday, April 21st, 2021. I need a motion to
April
adjourn.
What was it? April 20 what first?
Sorry, Wednesday, April 21st.
Okay. Good, I'll be here then.
Great. I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
I'll second that.
All in
Brian
favor?
Corcoran. Aye, Brian Corcoran.
Colin
Colin
Dwyer.
Dwyer. Anthony Nicastro,
Aye.
Richard McGrath, votes aye. Meeting is adjourned, 7:58 PM.
Good night, guys.
Good
Have a
night.
good night.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Take care.
Take care.
Yeah, good meeting. Bye.
Yep. Good night.
Things higher than that are cheddar cheese and yogurt. So I said, so if I could have a soft serve ice cream with strawberries on it instead of strawberry yogurt and not be too